having played hundreds of hours within Avowed, learning tons as I've progressed on, I thought I'd bring you guys some of the best tips and tricks I've learned throughout my playthrough. So let's go. How's it going, guys? My name is DPJ, and if you do enjoy the video, living a life really helps me out, and if you like what you see and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. So if you are an experienced player also and you have anything to add I missed within this list, please drop it down below in the comments section for newer players playing Avowed. So let's get into it, guys, and first things first, things you may not realise about unique items. So as you play and progress this game, it's important to know how uniques work in this game. Now, did you know that the quality of a unique item, what it drops at, what it's found at, or even brought at, is dependent on the quality level of your equipped items at the time, your equipped gear at the time. So what I mean by this is, let's say you watch a video guide, hopefully one of mine, on where certain unique items can be found. Now that item will be, quality wise, be based on your current gear quality levels. So if you're only at a fine quality in regards to the gear that you're wearing and using, then odds are the items you will come up across will be that fine quality. Now let's say your gear is that superb quality, then gear you will find or can be found or brought will be superb or better quality. It scales with your current gear. Now it's also important to know that I feel the quality of said pieces are locked into place as soon as you enter said area. So maybe upgrade said gear before entering new areas. This is the same for vendors too. Once you open their stock and see it for the first time, the quality of that said item you saw at that first glance will be locked in place. So make sure your gear is leveled up before going to find and get that one piece you're on the lookout for. Okay, so throughout your playthrough, guys, you'll also find hundreds of gear pieces which you may think are useless to you. Items you will not need for your build, items you will look to break down or even sell. But here, guys, it's very important to know what you should and shouldn't be selling. Now this is all dependent, in my opinion, on the player and what they need, but also what the item is and what it breaks down into. Now as you progress the game, you will start realizing that upgrading gear takes rarer and rarer items that are really hard to find and come by, even from vendors. But these items can indeed be obtained from you breaking down gear that you do not need. So should you break down these items? Well, you need to think about this in this way. Gold in this game comes and goes pretty quickly unless you've been using one of my gold exploit videos. But gold is spent so much quicker later on in the game. But items, for the most part, people, can be sold for more gold than it costs to buy certain materials needed in upgrading. So if you have a said piece of gear you know only breaks down into materials you can easily purchase, then it's probably worth selling instead if its value is worth more than the price of the materials it breaks down into. Later on in the game though, those higher gear pieces might sell for way more gold, but then they break down into materials you can't readily buy or find. It's here you need to think about what you are doing. What I do is I break down all the stuff in which I know I need for upgrading, because like I said later on in the game, some of the materials needed to upgrade are much rarer and you can't just readily buy them. But you can get them for breaking down certain gear pieces that you will be finding, even though they sell for way more gold than what these materials would probably cost if you could find a vendor that stocks more than a couple at once. So yeah, it's very important you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking for in regards to what you're upgrading. Everything else though, in my opinion, if you don't need what it breaks down into, it's probably worth selling for that gold. Now another thing to keep in mind when it comes to breaking down gear, if it's gear that you've previously upgraded, if you do come to breaking it down, you get increased materials back. Now I ain't sure if you get all the materials back in which you used to upgrade that certain gear piece, but you do get vastly more than what you get for just breaking down a normal said piece if it was standard. So yes guys, breaking down gear you've previously upgraded, especially if you do not need it anymore, is probably much better than selling that said piece, so keep it in mind. Remember, on a certain gear piece it will list what you'll get for breaking it down, but also at the same time list its value. So another tip which was given to me by my pal, which I actually researched myself, is being able to sell stuff from your party stash within your camp. I don't have this option, but for many players it seems to be here for them. I think it's either tied to a background choice you make at the start of the game, probably a PC thing I'm playing on Xbox, or something real simple I'm completely missing. I've gone through what I think are all the perks and abilities, all the UI, I've tried everything within my party stash, but I see no option to sell whatsoever. So if someone gets to the bottom of this, do please let the rest of us know down below. But it does seem as though, guys, some people can sell stuff straight from their party stash within their camp, which is a great feature in my opinion. So you can quickly and effectively reset and restock vendors in this game. This is great if you have the gold for buying a certain material, which you need loads of, but the vendor only sells a limited amount, but you can actually reset them and it's real easy to do this. And you can do this actually, to be honest, multiple vendors at the same time. So if you have a line of vendors you know that will sell a certain material that you need for, let's say, upgrading, guys, you can go and buy all said pieces that they have and then reset them and go back to them and buy them again. And to do this, guys, it's real simple. So here, guys, once you've bought said items from them vendors, head to a party camp. Anyone on the map, it does not matter. Then, guys, simply leave the party camp and rejoin it. Do this 4 times, and then upon you going back to said vendors, it resets everything you brought from them, meaning you can buy it again. Because of leaving these party camps and rejoining them basically resets the game by a day. So yeah, keep that in mind. A great trick. So when it comes to upgrading gear in this game, I'm sure we can all agree on the fact that it starts to get super expensive. And although I've covered the basics of materials, how to get such, whether you should be breaking them down, whether you should be selling certain gear pieces, we just covered about resetting shops and vendors and so forth. But there's actually, guys, an ability, or shall I say perk, which cuts the cost of upgrading gear down by 25%. Now the perk is called the Scavenger perk. It's a part of the Ranger set, and you level this thing up twice, guys, and as you can see, it cuts down the upgrading cost by 25%. Why wouldn't you want to be using this? Now, did you guys know that speaking with your companions within your party camp at certain stages of the game's story will allow you to get permanent passive upgrades to your stats? Now, where and when this happens is a mystery to me. I was actually just clearing out dialogue with my companions at my party camp, and then realised, guys, I got permanent stat upgrades. I then had a look online, guys, and it seems that all 4 companions can give you individual stat increases, but do so at different times. So if you see that notification that your companion wants to speak to you, do so and go and clear out that dialogue. You never know what they got for you. Now, sticking with companions, did you know that Marius has the ability that you can use which helps you find nearby loot? It will actually highlight chests and so forth through walls, way before you hear any chime or indication that loot is nearby. The Marius ability is called the Hunter's Sense. So if you want to explore every corner of all 4 regions, this is probably something that will be helpful to you. So yes, Marius and his Hunter's Sense, make the most of it. Now, as you do explore the open world, there's no doubt, guys, you'll come across certain puzzles. This is why here I recommend you having a grimoire of elements within your inventory, just for that very reason, as this grimoire is perfect for puzzles which require certain spells to pass. So even if you don't use a wand or magic at all, it just makes sense to have it inside your inventory so you can equip it at that time you come across a puzzle which needs a certain spell to get past it. And the best thing about this, guys, is it can be bought for super cheap from the very first vendor within Dawnshore. Now, another tip when it comes to upgrading things, if you are a mage, it's important to note that grimoires do not increase damage wise when upgraded. I say this because as you play and progress, you will use materials to indeed upgrade gear you want because you want everything on par, so to speak. But upgrading the grimoires can be the last thing you dedicate time to, because in regards to damage output, it doesn't increase here. When upgrading grimoires, you only get reduced cooldowns and ability costs, which are also great, but if you need damage firstly, these can be upgraded lastly. Keep that in mind. Now I know people will be doing this, I did this myself. I had tons of gems all stacked up inside of my inventory thinking they were going to be used for something later on in the game, when in fact these are here to be sold to make you that money, people. So there's no need to stack these up if you're thinking that they're going to be used for elsewhere in the game, because they ain't. They do nothing else besides sell for money. So yeah. Now this is something I've mentioned in the past, but I'm still seeing so many players not actually make use of it, and that is the Transmog system in this game. Yes, it exists, so if you want to wear a certain gear piece but look a certain way, it's super simple to do so. Go into your inventory, simply press that left trigger on the gear piece you want the appearance of, and it transmogs onto the gear piece that you have equipped. Super simple. You can also run around basically naked by doing this and hiding the gear piece you are wearing. So yeah. Now this isn't something people don't know about, but I think people don't make the most of them, and they are grenades. Odds are you have loads of these just gathering dust, but you don't actually throw them into your build, you don't actually use them, and I don't know why. Grenades are incredible in this game during combat. Enemies stacked up coming at you loads at once, chuck a grenade at them, they do devastating damage, and there's so many different types and varieties of grenades in this game that will be very helpful for your build. So yes, make the most of them, guys. Grenades should be used way more often. Now another thing I know players don't make the most of, and that is cooking food via the party camp. Now food consumption in this game is massive for a variety of different reasons other than giving you health and essence. There are crazy benefits to consuming different foods, like temp buffs to stats. They can give you massive damage buffs, movement speed buffs, defense buffs, and so much more. So yes, you are probably sitting on tons of ingredients to cook great things in this game, so you may as well make use of them. So the god totems are massive in regards to player stats and passives. There's one in each of the 4 regions, and they consist of a stand, and then you find in those totem fragments, which are basically hidden in and around the map. But people, an easy way to find these for yourself is to turn on the find totem setting within your UI settings, so that they appear on your mini map when you get close to them. This is something I haven't really seen anyone mention, but it's a great way to find those totem fragments, which will in the end give you crazy and amazing passive benefits. Now lastly, guys, I want to talk about the points of no return. Now, I won't go too much into this because it basically covers the story of the game. I don't know what you've done and what you haven't done. I just want to make it clear when these happen in regards to these points of no return. So there are loads of options in this game that can see you missing out on different loot and rewards. But there are 2 instances here in this game, guys, which block out portions of certain maps and even lock you out of going back and doing quests. The first one happens within Emerald Stair. So during the main quest of Ancient Soil, this is the second main quest in Emerald Stair, you need to explore the underground of the Godless Ruin in Neku Tedek. Now if you finish this part, if you finish this sequence, you will enter a point of no return for the main story, which will lock you out of the main zone within here where all the vendors are found. There's a couple of quests in here too. The place is called the Fire Mess Inferno, I believe that's how it's pronounced. But within here, guys, there's plenty of vendors, a few quests and so forth. But upon you doing this part of the story, guys, it locks you out of this place. So if I were you, I'd make sure you do all the side quests in the first area of Dawnshore and then Emerald Stair, if you haven't already, before doing this part of the main story, so you don't miss anything. So yeah. Now the other point of no return, guys, won't actually allow you to come back to the game to complete any remaining side quests. So late within the game, the main game story campaign, in the quest Our Dreams Divide Us Still, your final objective will be to enter the garden. This is the true point of no return, as you will no longer be able to return to the base game and complete any of those side quests or even explore, people. So yeah, and although this game has no New Game Plus or anything like that, I definitely recommend anyone doing this to make a save before make a couple of saves before you do this final mission. Because I said guys, you will not be able to go back, you will not be able to finish any side quests, collect any loot, explore, etc, after you enter this mission. So yes, do keep that in mind. But there we have it guys, on 15 tips and tricks I've learned, or 15 tips and tricks plus I've learned of my 300 hours of playing Avowed. So yeah, I hope they help you out. If you do, leaving a like really helps me out. If you like what you see and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. And hopefully guys, I will see you on that next one.